going to be a fun one today. We are looking at songs that reached number 26 because it is 2026 for those who have missed it. Last year, Tim kindly joined me to listen to songs that reached number 25 when it was 2025. And so we're doing it again, basically, but one number up. Welcome, Tim. It's great to have you back.
It's great to be back, Joseph. I had fun doing it last time. I did better than I was thinking I was doing as it was underway. But I'm curious, very curious as to what's going to be coming at me for number 26 peak songs.
Well, we've got an interesting bunch of songs. Last time I managed to get a song in that was really up to date, but there's nothing here more recent than 1991. Um, and I think the oldest track goes back to something like 67. So a much narrower window. Um, Another interesting fact about this batch of songs is that at least eight, and possibly all of them, did better in Canada. Um, Whether that will help you identify them remains to be seen. Um, so, for those who didn't catch the previous episode, what I've got behind me is my massive random four-play logo, which means we have 10 songs, but we're only going to hear four of them, and they're going to be delivered in random fashion, and a group of three or maybe two at a time, depending on where we go along the way. Tim's going to do his utmost to identify these songs from very brief 5-second intros. And as he says, he did extremely well last time. Was about a 75% hit rate. The odds of matching or bettering that are quite slim, I'm going to suggest, but he's up for the challenge, and I hope anybody else out there is too, because you can play along at home with slightly more info than Tim has, because I will give you the list of artists who are going to feature within this group of songs on your screens now, as they say. Because these songs are all in my iTunes library and therefore I own them, I have to say at the outset, the only reason they're on this list is because of their chart peak. My owning them and them being here is not necessarily an endorsement on my part, although, you know, I don't think I have anything on here that I loathe. Um, and yeah, we'll spin the first three, and Tim, after having identified them all instantly, will choose one of them for us to listen to in full, whether it's an old favorite or something he's just curious about. So, with that said, are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, so uh, here we go. First batch, first song sounds like this. So that's number one. Number two, very different. And number three, three very different songs, I have to say.
Yeah.
All right, so those are your three intros. Anything leaping out at you from that?
I know two of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
At the
not bad
can you
going.
can you play that first one for me again, that acoustic thing?
Sure thing. And that's all you're
Okay.
getting.
Okay, I really don't know that one. All I can do is guess at the artist.
Go for it.
Is it Dan Fogelberg?
You're in exactly the right ballpark. Um, but think think more Canadian.
Is it Gordon Lightfoot?
It is. So that is Rainy Day People from
Yeah.
1975, a Canadian top 10.
Yeah.
And the other two,
Oh,
so
yeah,
reveal.
the second one I don't think I've heard since it was current. Because it comes from an album that had two number one songs, but this was not one of them. That is Starship with Tomorrow Doesn't Matter Tonight.
Spot on.
Yeah.
And
And
interestingly, that one, I don't know if you know if this is right, Tim, because as you say, obviously we built the city and Sarah were number ones both in the US and Canada, but on Wiki at least, it doesn't list the chart positions at all for this one in Canada. So I find it unlikely that it wouldn't have charted, but
uh not necessarily. Starship are an example of a band. I don't know how much they would have toured up here. So without that, I think I can remember seeing the video to that song once.
Right. So maybe it was just one of those ones where Canada said, we've had enough of these guys for a while. We'll wait until what's the next big hit? Nothing's going to
Nothing
stop
gonna
us now.
stop.
Came out a
Well,
couple of years later.
actually, it's funny you mentioned that because the fourth single from that album, which didn't hit the top 40 on either side of the border, was Before I Go. And
Right.
that got some more airplay in Canada because it was co-written by a guy named Bruce Roberts, who is a Canadian artist. Therefore, it qualified under our Canadian content
Ancon.
ruling. So,
Right.
so that one did get I do remember hearing that a little bit more,
Right. So
surprisingly.
Tomorrow Doesn't Matter Tonight was written not by a Canadian, obviously. Stephen Crystal and Robin Randall, and I have to say those names mean nothing to me
No.
at all. But okay, and then you were also confident on number three, which is the one
Oh,
I was fairly sure that you would get.
yeah.
But
It's one of my favorite bands. It's Toto at 99. Fantastic song. Yeah, no, I'm a big Toto fan. So just this split second it came on, I knew exactly what it was.
excellent. Does that mean it's going to be an obvious choice for the one you want us to play, or are you going to go a different
Actually,
route?
you know what? Let's go with the Starship one, just because I haven't heard it in such a long time.
All right. Okay. I will play that in a moment, but just because we're skipping over Toto, which is unusual on this channel, I mean, it's probably the band I talk about most here. Um, this song that we're not hearing, 99, as you probably know, was inspired by a George Lucas film. Um,
Yep.
what was it? THX, blah, blah,
THX
blah.
11, THX 1138. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
which
have
I've
I
never
have
seen.
I
Yeah.
have a very funny inspiration story, or I have a very funny story of what I thought it was about.
Let's backtrack to this. Let's circle around. We'll go back to the song that we're actually going to play first, and then we'll have some Toto talk in between that and the next song. How does that sound?
Sure.
So, on that basis, we are heading to a song that sounds as 1985 as you can get. Sounds like this. All right. How did that sound
It's
40-ish
funny.
years later?
It's funny how it comes back to you. The songs come back to you. But man, yeah, the production is the electric. I think it's electric drums. It definitely sounds like they're triggered.
Yeah.
Synth bass. Um, you know, but boy, Mickey Thomas, one heck of a voice on that guy, and he still sings very, very well. If you've seen recent live clips of him. Um,
Right.
and as we were
He's,
listening to that song, I was going down through Canadian RPM charts from 1986. So I was starting in like April when Sarah was still on the chart, and then I was going down May, and I was going into June. I could not find where this song even, entered the chart for 1 week and then fell out unless I missed it. So
I mean, it's super 80s, isn't it? And if that's not your cup of tea, then it's just not going to suit you. But
I can see, yeah, I could see where, see, I grew up, I started listening to the top 40 radio in 1985, and it was just, the radio was always on. So I have quite an affinity for this time period in music. Although I'm objective enough to realize that if somebody's never heard it before, it would sound incredibly dated.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, Mickey's vocal uh, is the highlight, but
Yeah,
I mean, mainstream 80s pop rock, it does the job quite well for me. So
yeah.
it's a tick from me.
And
Um,
and Craig, I think his name is Craig Chiquiso, the guitar player. Nobody ever talks
yeah,
about him, but he's a great player. He comes up with some great guitar solos. So I think he's kind of an unsung guitar guy of the 80s. Nobody ever talks
yeah,
about him.
definitely. He was, he was a virtuoso, but like you say, almost ignored these days.
Yeah.
And there's associations. People on a tangent here, but if you're one of those people who says that "We Built the City" is the worst song ever, then you haven't heard enough songs, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, so an interesting one there. So let's circle back round to Toto, which with 99 and lots of numbers here, it's did 17 in Canada, and the place it did best was actually New Zealand. Yay! Number 11. In fact, they had three number 11s almost in a row with Hold the Line and Georgie Porgy getting
Wow.
that high.
Yeah.
And then nothing again after that until Rosanna, like most places.
Yeah.
But you were going to tell me your belief
Yeah.
of an origin story. Is it anything to do
It
with Get Smart?
No, I know what you mean, but it has everything to do with the fact that I was 5 years old when that song came out in 1979, and so just my active memory starts around 3 or 4. So but I do remember in the news at that time, especially here in Canada. Um, I was never a hockey enthusiast, even it's our national
Oh,
sport, but all
I
anyone was
mean,
talking about was Wayne Gretzky, the great one, and his number was
hmm.
99. And so I thought, did they write a song about Wayne Gretzky?
Well, that is definitely logical, certainly
That's
on a 5-year-old.
that's 5 year old logic. I mean, everything's got to mean something, right? But
Yeah,
no, I massive Toto fan. I just think they're fantastic. I mean, David Page is such a great songwriter. I mean, he wrote so many of their classic songs himself. There's a very laid back feel to that song. I love the extended coda on it, and
yeah.
yeah, it's great.
I think, I mean, I know Steve Lukather has said that shouldn't have been the single, but I don't actually know that there's anything else on the Hydra album that would have even had a chance in the charts.
I don't know what you to put out from. I like Hydra, but I mean, it's more, you definitely
Hmm.
wouldn't put the title track or St. George and the Dragon out.
Yeah,
You wouldn't want to put
Mama, maybe.
you certainly wouldn't want to put All Us Boys.
No,
A Secret Love, no. White Sister, I don't think so.
I mean,
Yeah, that
Luke
really,
sort of says White Sister should have been it, but
it's a great
I mean,
song.
it's a great song.
It's not
It's
single.
not a
It's not,
single. No.
and someone could have, thrown their hands up and said, What's that supposed to mean? I don't know. But yeah, to me, 99 is, yeah, it is the most obvious, and it's a grower. Like I've played it for a lot of people. Like my wife wasn't familiar with that song, um, and I played, and she likes it now. We have a like a late '70s playlist. We have a yacht rock playlist, and that's on there, and it's just a great laid back kind of soft rock song.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I'd say against it is that the inspiration for it doesn't actually really show up in the song. It could just be literally any of the other girl name songs, but with a number instead of a name. So
You know what? You just hit upon a very interesting point. Do we count this among the many Toto songs with
personally,
with a
I
fe
do. Yeah.
with a female's name? I never thought about that before, but up there with Rosanna and Pamela and Anna and Carmen and Holy Anna, and the
The
list
list
goes.
goes on and on.
Yeah, Angela. Yeah, yeah. Eleanor.
Lorraine, which followed it on the album.
Lorraine. Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, Lorraine. Later on, there was Melanie. There was Chelsea. Oh, yeah, they hold the. I think they hold the record on
yeah,
that. Leah.
and yeah. Gosh, is there anything else? Quick before
I'm
because they had quite a gap between. Oh, Mashanga. There we go. That's the other one.
Mushanga. Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think that we've got them all. If anyone has spotted a total girl name song that we've missed, do let us know.
yeah.
Um, all right, we're going to get a. I mean, you did very well there. I'm going to give you a half mark for getting the artist for Gordon Lightfoot. So
Well, I did.
two and a
I
half.
actually didn't though. I said Dan Fogelberg,
Yeah, but
and
you
I'm
got you.
Canadian. I really should have known Gord.
Yeah, well, we'll educate you slowly, as you say. It's
Well, I know the song. I
go back to
just,
the song.
if you'd a rainy day, people, like I know the song, but I just
Yeah,
not
but
know
I
how it
mean,
starts.
this is. Let's be honest. Unless you, I mean, the fact that you narrowed in on Tomorrow Doesn't Matter for Night after 40 years is pretty impressive. These snippets, it is hard. So
That's the difference when like a song like that, if I hadn't grown up listening to the radio during that time, I probably never would have known that song because I never actually
right.
owned that album.
Oh, okay. I had it
So,
on vinyl.
so
I
it's
got
not
it for a
even,
dollar.
it's not even on like, I know there's at least one best of they put out. It's not even on there. So
Right, yeah. This came from the two disc set,
need,
which covers Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, and Starship, and it's
right.
pretty much all I need
Yeah.
from all of those various permutations. But yeah, all right. I'm just going to let this play out. I'm obsessed with letting a song count. So there's 99 again. So I'm going to pick out of these two. But first of all, let's see if you can name them for us, starting with this little one. And whether you can do that one or not, this one should be interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Da, 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 da. Both in my collection.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
want to talk us through those then?
Well, the first one is The Storm. I've got a lot to learn about love, which was um, fooled me. I heard that song on the radio in late 1991, and the vocal came on, and I thought, boy, that sounds like Steve Perry.
Hmm.
And then I heard Greg Raleigh, and I thought, holy cow, Journey have reunited with Greg Raleigh. But
If only.
obviously, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. But I remember thinking, well, this doesn't make sense because Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain are in bad English, or at least they were for a very brief moment.
Yeah.
But I also knew there was talk that Steve Perry was ready to release a second solo album. So then I thought, well, maybe that's a solo song, and Greg Raleigh is guesting on it. But I knew I loved the song. This is right up my alley. That sort of melodic rock, and actually, that's in doing a lot of research there was a big difference in the States. Like was Billboard magazine, which is sort of like the template, right? That was or the
Yeah.
standard. Then it was Radio and Records, which was another chart publication, radio business industry publication. And the two big countdowns I used to listen to that were syndicated were Casey Kasem, and Casey was from Billboard. And then it was Rick Dees, and Rick Dees was from Radio and Records. And at the turn of the 90s, there was kind of a shift where there were songs that did a lot better on radio and records than they did on Billboard as far as, sort of mainstream rock songs. And that
Right.
Storm song is one of them. That went all the way to number 13 on radio and records. But yeah, it did peak at 26 on Billboard. Considering it peaked in early 92 and what was going on in rock music, I'm surprised it did that well. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I really like that song. And then, of course, band I've seen a couple times in concert. They're one of the biggest rock bands to come out of Canada, the 80s Loverboy. And When It's Over from Get Lucky. I mean, I'm a big Loverboy fan. So just as soon as those keyboards came on, just like within seconds, like because there's such a unique tone to those keyboards. Um,
Right.
was it a pioneering power ballad? You might say so. Um, but I know that probably in 1981, that Paul Dean's guitar probably sounded pretty heavy for mainstream AM radio, top 40 radio. And speaking of guys that still have their vocal chops, Mike Reno still delivers live. He
Now I
really does.
just heard that he's been taken ill and had to
Oh,
cancel some dates or something. So I don't know the story on that, but that's just like within the last 24 hours that came up
okay. Well,
somewhere.
that's
So I hope it's nothing too serious. But
I saw them. I guess it's almost been 3 years ago now. That was the last time I saw them, and he still sounded really good. The whole band did really, and they're more or less intact. There's four-fifths of the classic lineup intact. They unfortunately their bass player Scott Smith, very tragic story. In 2000, he was lost at sea. Basically,
wow,
he went out at sea in like Vancouver Island or wherever the coast of British Columbia, and was never found again. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had to say, uh, of all the songs on this list, this is the one I know the least because I'm not actually certain I've heard it before at all. I picked up
Well,
this little thing.
Loverboy, I think that's a great example of a band that was really big. They were it's really hard for Canadian acts to break the US. It's
Yeah.
really hard. But Loverboy did it. I mean, their first two albums, I think, were both four times platinum in the States. Their third and fourth albums were platinum. I mean, they were a big band in the
Big
US,
sugar hits as well. So yeah,
but I don't think they got out of the off the continent that much. And
they
so,
did do fairly well. See, Get Lucky was is a big album down under. I don't know that the rest were, and I was always kind of put off by that album cover. Um, if you know it, you know
yeah,
it. So I kind of they were again. I mean, Starship were to a degree as well, but this was kind of before I was listening. They were kind of before I was listening to radio, um, and I just they kind of passed me by. And uh, in compiling my 26s, I realized I had an uneven number of songs, and I needed to pick up a couple of extra ones to give us 20 to do two batches of these. So this is one that I thought, well, why not? Um, and this compilation came out in I think '94, and actually
yeah,
it's got liner notes from Scott
yeah,
before his tragedy, obviously, which I
yeah.
didn't know until you just mentioned it. So for this one, he calls it a good example of pre-grunge minimalist power funk, and says that Dougie, You know, that it still swears he wrote the intro before he heard Simon and Garfunkel's Sounds of Silence. Right. And Scott says, I'm amazed by the impact that a Spartan song like this has in the acoustic no man's land of your basic hockey arena. um,
That is very
so,
true. There's not a lot to this song, but it's less is more.
right. Well, I mean, I do really like the Storm track. And um, I mean, as you say, you've obviously got Greg Rowley, but you've got
Well,
Ross Valerie and Steve
and
Smith as
Steve
well
Smith,
from
you've got
Journey. So,
3/5. Yeah, you've got 3/5 of the funny thing is that in 1991, the Storm had 3/5 Journey. So did Bad English, because Bad English had Neil Sean, Jonathan Cain, and their future drummer, Dean Castronovo.
yeah,
You could go down so many rabbit holes there, but yeah.
that's just the Storm's timing was slightly worse because obviously Bad English came out a couple of years earlier, had much more success, even if it was brief. But yeah, 1991 was just that bit too late. And as you say, the fact that this was a hit at all was pretty impressive. And it was as we often talk about, the mainstream rock chart. It did number 6 there, so it
Yeah.
definitely got play in some markets. But obviously, they were as short-lived as their supergroup brethren of the early 90s, along not just Bad English, but Damn Yankees as well.
Yeah.
We're in kind of that same era. So, but yeah, I'm going to go the Loverboy route because I have never heard the song, probably, as far as I know. So, uh, I don't want to leave all the education to you. So let's see what I make of it. I mean, I've been told an awful lot about it, so I know pretty much what I'm expecting, but let's see how it plays out. Here we go. Right. Points off for the long, slow 80s fade out, but otherwise, I can hear
That's where
that
the
in
DJ was
arena, no problem.
DJ was supposed to come in long before that and start talking. Yeah.
Oh, they probably trimmed it down a bit for a single as well. It's been a 5-minute one, I'm going to
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, I mean, I just had a quick look, and sure enough, in New Zealand, they were a 2-hit wonder. Turn Me Loose and Working for the Weekend were big, and then nothing. So again, like you say, it's probably they didn't tour down under, and interest dried up would be my guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed that an awful lot. So I'm gonna have a Loverboy day soon and hear that and another 15 of their finest moments, hopefully. Um, yeah. So how does that stack up for you? Obviously, you've been familiar with it for a long, long time.
I mean, yeah, that's a standard. But the funny thing is that that song and Working for the Weekend and Turn Me Loose, those are all really, really well-known songs in the States and in Canada. None of them were huge hits. Turn Me Loose peaked at, I think, 36 on Billboard.
Wow.
Um, Working for the Weekend, I want to say was somewhere in the 20s. It might have charted higher than When It's Over, but not, not to the point where over here you'd think that those were bigger songs, but they just weren't. And then there's another big song off of their first album, which is where Turn Me Loose came from, called The Kid Is Hot Tonight, which is another radio staple. Well, that song only peaked at 55 on Billboard, so it didn't even hit the top 40. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how some of these songs have just gained over time.
Yeah. And so this was 17 in Canada. So
Yeah. So
understandably would do a bit better.
not a smash across the board hit, but very recognizable to most North American radio listeners.
Yeah. I wonder why this didn't. I mean, it's interesting because uh, again, this is before my time, but NZ, those two songs were really big. Turn Me Loose was number 5 in New Zealand, and Working for the Weekend just missed top 10. It was number 11. The first 2 albums did pretty well, and then just disappeared. So I certainly saw their albums. They were not one of those bands that you would never see shopping in music stores. They would always be
Right.
represented in the rack somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just never got around to investigating them. Unlike some of the bands, I mean, most of the bands I listened to were people that were before my time. Let's face it. All right, now I've done it again. I've gone through 2 whole songs, and I should probably warn people that the songs themselves won't be in this video, but there will be a link below where you can hear the extended version where the songs are played in full if you need to hear any of these with us, which I hope you do. All right. Are you ready for the next batch of three? I can
Yeah.
tell you that we've had an 80s heavy start to the show, but that's it for the 80s. There's nothing else from that decade to turn up on this set of songs. Plenty more in the next batch, but yeah. So I know that there is one more song at least on here that you will get instantly. The rest, well, we shall see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on that note, here is your first. Well, in fact, here's all three basically back to back, starting with. And
Sounds
we'll
very
follow that up
familiar.
with this one. And finally, again, very different. What
Well,
have you got for us on the list?
okay, the middle one is Dream Police, Cheap Trick. Um,
Yeah,
I knew that right away, the two drum hits. Um, but the other one sounded familiar, very familiar. The first one with the acoustic sounded like a 12-string guitar. Can I hear the first and the third again?
absolutely. I'll give you the first one, which was this. And then the third one, uh, which, as you can probably tell, is a live version,
It's
but
alive,
is the
yeah.
live version that charted, which is why
Um,
it's
so I don't know which songs they are, and I don't. I might not be right about the artist, but the first one, just the acoustic guitar, is that the band America?
I can hear why you would think that. So no, but yeah, I did. I mean, that's one that I would. I think most people would struggle to. It's probably the most obscure song on this list, all told. Would be my guess. Um, but if I tell you the song that it followed up, then you'll know who the band is. I expect.
Right.
So this was it's a British band, and um, their biggest hit in America was "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress."
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that tells me the band, but it doesn't tell me the song. So it's the Hollies.
Yeah,
So this would have been what, 72, 1972 or so, or
yeah, it's a
7. Yeah.
71 album, but it was 72 by the time that they were putting this out as a single. So it's Long Dark Road, which closed the Distant Light album that Long Cool Woman came from. So by that point, Alan Clark, the lead singer, had left the band.
Right.
They'd got a replacement in. Then Long Cool Woman became a big hit, and so they got rid of the replacement, and Alan Clark came back. And then they had Air That I Breathe, and then that was pretty much it for them, really, charts wise, anyway. Um, yeah, and this is one of those rare songs where it was a hit in America, but not in the UK at all. I mean, they had a slew of hits here that never crossed over to the other side of the pond, but they just had a couple that did the same, but in the opposite direction, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. Yeah, no,
Um,
I'm not familiar with that song.
and then
So the third one
the other one,
I have a guess on the live track. I actually have two guesses, but there's when you said it was the live version that was a hit. Is it Bob Seger?
no,
No. Okay.
no,
That's my Is it James Taylor?
no,
Okay, then I have no idea.
no. You know, you'd get there eventually on this one. It's a very well-known band. It's the Bee Gees.
Oh,
Um, and like When It's Over, this is one that's only just been added to my playlist. And it's a couple of reasons for that. Friend of the channel, Bo Start, who comes on with me at times and is a massive Bee Gees fan, sent me a list last year of songs that hit number 26. I mean, I already knew just about everything he sent through, but that was one that, oh, I hadn't realized that. And then I don't know if you caught this on Sea of Tranquility recently, but Pete and Grant did a top 10 Bee Gees studio albums, ranking the album show. And well, obviously this isn't a studio album. They also talked about this quite a bit and raved about it to the point where I thought, I've always this is one of those albums I always saw in stores when I was going through the racks buying cheap vinyl, and I thought I might pick that up next time, and I just never got around to it. Um, so I have, and it's great.
Is that the
It's
one where it says
just
the three of them are at one mic?
yeah, and so
Yeah,
this
I
is
can picture
what
it.
they put out after Robert Stigwood stole their songs for the next album and made them into Saturday Night Fever. This was kind of
Okay.
their stopgap, but it's it's a nice mix of the early stuff and then the kind of early comebacks style, which was Jive Talking and You Should Be Dancing and
Right.
Nights on Broadway, those kinds of songs before they went supernova the following year. Um, so yeah, recommended if you like that sort of thing. Um,
So what's the song?
uh,
What's the song called?
oh, the song, yeah, I haven't told you that. It's Edge of the Universe, which was originally on the main course album, which was their first kind of what's now called their first disco album.
Right, right.
Um, so yeah, again, charts wise, what have we got on these? I think that yeah, that's the Bee Gees did number 16 in Canada on that one. Cheap Trick, that was top 10 in Canada and New Zealand and Australia. So uh, I'm always surprised that it didn't do better in the States, to be honest. And then the Hollies did only slightly better in Canada at number 24. Um,
Okay.
so yeah. So of those three, which do you fancy us hearing?
Well, I love Dream Police, but I've heard it a million times. So let's play that Hollies song. So see if I recognize it when it gets to the chorus.
All right. So yeah, this is Long Dark Road, written by their guitarist Tony Hicks along with Kenny Lynch. Tony Hicks, by the way, is like you were saying about Craig Chico from Starship, is just one of the great unsung guitarists of all time. Whether that's demonstrated on this track or not, we shall see. It's not a song of theirs that I know particularly well, so let's see what we make of it. Here we go. Oh, another slow fade out, repeating on the chorus. Oh, tisk tisk.
It certainly sounds like it could have been a bigger hit. I mean, once it gets going, it's very catchy. Um, yeah, I was just reading about the album that it came off of, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Did you notice in that some of the earlier Holly singles had a pre-fame Elton John on them, but piano and organ on that song was provided by Gary Brooker of Procol Harum.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
So, so they had some interesting guests along the way. There's a member of Jethro Tull on the album as well somewhere along the way. Uh,
The weird thing
uh,
about the Hollies is that I think at least the last US top 40 single they ever had was in 1983. They had a very minor hit with a version of Stop in the Name of Love.
yeah, we'll get to that in 2029.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was again that was another example of a song that didn't chart in the UK at all. But I guess it was a bit of a reunion with Graham Nash going back into the band. It got them a little bit of publicity stateside,
Yeah.
given that he was coming off of a pretty big CSN album the year before.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think overall that album was not considered a great return to form. So, and then it
No,
was
no.
23 years before they put another one out. So, um, yeah, I mean, I've another weird thing about the Hollies is that even as late as this, for the most part, they were still doing almost entirely non-album singles, and the albums would be completely separate things from what they were putting out on 45s. So, I mean, that was obviously a lot more common
Yeah, by
early
the
to mid
seven by
60s,
the
but
by the late 60s, it had pretty much become a non-issue. Like it was the single
yeah,
was on the album you were promoting.
yeah. Um, and so that's, I mean, like Long Cool Woman was never intended as a single. It was just one of those things that somebody played on the station and it snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And then obviously they had a band in flux, so just put something else out to try and capitalize on it. It did all right. It's
Yeah.
not too bad given the circumstances. Um, yeah, and then the Bee Gees track. Um, it's hard to think of a late '70s Bee Gees song that didn't hit number one, pretty much. But um, it's a good tune, and I think it's. We used to have the main course album on cassette, so I haven't heard that version in decades. But I feel like the live version is a bit, no pun intended, livelier, um, and yeah, a little bit more up tempo, and pretty good song overall as well. So, but that leaves us with just two more, which I will choose one of for us to hear. And obviously, I'm in the happy position that I know what those are, and I still can't quite make up my mind yet. But while you're throwing out random suggestions of artists that these might be, well, I mean, I don't know. One of them, I think it'd be a miracle if you got. The other one, maybe. So let's put that to the test and give you your first one of those. Oh no, that's Stream Police again. I forgot that we'd gone back to the first of your options. So this is my first choice, effectively. And then the final one on offer for today is this.
They both sound
Yeah,
familiar. I feel like that first one, I feel like a lot of songs in the 70s opened up like that. Um, let's see. Boy. So I don't know either of them like just from first hearing.
yeah,
It's so they're not songs I'm familiar with at all. Can I hear the first one again, please?
absolutely. That is this.
Okay.
Let's see what I can
Um,
give you.
I'll tell you what it puts me in mind of is the way that with the acoustic guitar with the strings, it reminds me of Wichita Lineman by Glen Campbell. Is it
Right.
Glen Campbell?
It is.
It is.
It
Wow.
is.
Okay. So I was onto something there. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. I don't know what song it is, but wow, that's
Okay, it's like Wichita Lineman. It's a Jimmy Webb song. By the time I get to Phoenix.
okay. I've heard the title. I've heard the title.
Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
and
All right.
then
If I could
yeah,
hear that other one again. Uh,
yes. Your wish is my command. Here we go. Again, depending on where you're from and things, a very well known artist, but not a very well known song from them.
um, I'm just gonna guess. Is it Chicago?
No, it's miles away.
Okay.
It's very, I would say, uncharacteristic of this artist. So it doesn't, certainly from just that intro, in fact, the whole song, though, really doesn't sound like you would expect them to sound, which isn't going to help you at all, I realize.
Hmm. Well, it's sort of got that dance that that's very mid to late 70s. Uh Commodores?
No, again,
Yeah.
uh, I think I'll put you out of your misery because you'd be
Yes,
guessing all
please.
day on this one. Cat Stevens.
Okay. No, that's very upbeat for
Yes,
what I know of Cat
it
Stevens.
really is. So it's a track called Ready, which is from his Buddha and the Chocolate Fox album in 1974. So
Okay.
it's like, yeah, you're in the right era. But like I say, it doesn't sound like any of his better known songs. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And again, it did slightly better in Canada, number 20 there. Um, the Glen Campbell track was top 10 in Canada. Um, I can only play one because it's the rules. It's my rules, and I should stick to them. So I think we'll go with a, a really loose Toto connection, uh, given that they would bring in Jimmy Webb to help them out on Home of the Brave. So let's have
Yeah.
a Jimmy Webb tune, and this is the song that really broke him through. Johnny Rivers was the first to record it, and well, he basically discovered him, um, and then obviously passed it over. It was the first of his songs that Glen Campbell recorded, and then he did Wichita Lineman and Galveston, Where's the Playground Susie, and the utterly dreadful Honey Come Back, which is the less said about the better. Um, but this is a great song, and I had the pleasure of seeing Jimmy Webb in concert last year or the year before, um, where he did a whole slew of songs from his songbook over the years, and I mean the number of songs he wrote for people is mind blowing, really. So let's hear where that all began. This is going as far back as 1967, and you're right, though it really does set up the '70s sound quite early. So this is By the Time I Get to Phoenix. All right, a much faster mini fade out. I'll give them a pass on that. What did you make of that? Do you think you'd heard it before? You
Uh, I must. I must have, even if I was a little kid and it was on the radio. But because I certainly remember, of course, when I was a kid, if you were at, yeah, what is Glen Campbell saying? I would have been like, well, Rhinestone Cowboy, Southern Nights, that
Yeah,
stuff. But I don't think it's nice. It's a lovely song. It's not quite as I don't know. There's something about Wichita Lineman that has a mystical quality
yeah,
to it that almost but it's very similar. And actually, there is another, well, it's a loose connection. A good point on bringing up Home of the Brave, which is a fantastic song. But like the members of Toto, Glen Campbell started as a session musician.
yeah, absolutely. In what was not well, it's debatable if you want to call it the Wrecking Crew or not, because
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if Carol Kay was on. She's definitely on bass on Wichita Lineman. I'm not sure if she plays on this or not, but if you say the phrase "Wrecking Crew" in her company, then she is not happy with you. Let's put it that way. Um, it's kind of become a retrospective label for that particular group of musicians
Yeah.
who were unlike those. I mean, the Toto guys, for the most part, you would see their names on the albums that they played on,
Right. Yeah.
uh, but not so for that earlier generation. Jimmy, when I saw him, whenever it was, I lose track of the years these days, but he didn't play Home of the Brave. I didn't really expect that he would, but he did just about every other song that I associate with him. And he mentioned there that it's, I'm certain it's a story he tells a lot, but he was accosted backstage by somebody who was like, "But you can't get from Phoenix to Albuquerque in this time. It's
Right.
impossible."
Yeah. 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 I was just reading about that. Like, that's not possible, but it's a song. It's poetic license.
Yeah, and sometimes you just put in a place name because it fits the
It
meter.
sounds, it's got the right amount of syllables. Yeah, I mean, imagine somebody, coming up to David Bowie about Space Oddity and or something. And
Yeah, there's always people who want to
yeah,
take art and hammer it into something that it isn't. But yeah, I think that's a great song. And oh, just quickly, a little Glen Campbell story for you, which rest in peace, Glenn. But in my last few years in New Zealand, I worked in ticketing, um, and he was one of those people who came to NZ quite regularly. But the last time he came, he got ill, and instead of cancelling, he decided that he would play the guitar and his daughter would sing, and that didn't go down very well. That's probably the one show because after that there were so many complaints, more complaints than we had about any other single concert in my time. I think they got through three songs before they just realised, okay, no, this was a bad idea, and fled the stage. Um, yeah, I
that's a
guess
shame. Yeah.
insurance would have covered it, but I guess it was. It can be a tough call when it's late in the day. Maybe I can do it, and then the audience is there. Oh no, I definitely can't. What will we do instead? So I can kind of see what his thinking was, but yeah, it was just a bad idea, and it didn't fly. Um, but yeah, as you say, a legendary artist, and um, the the sheer number of albums he put out over his career is mind-numbing. I mean, most of them are only about 25 minutes each, but
Yeah, but kept him coming.
yeah. And then yeah, that Cat Stevens. I will just give you a very little quick bonus and see if I can get into the chorus for you. Yeah, like I say, not what you'd expect from him at all.
I mean, because you told me who it was, I recognized the voice, but without, I don't know that I would have been able to, because mentally I would have been like, don't even think Cat Stevens because it can't be because it's too fast, it's too up tempo. Uh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's not one of his classic songs, but it is nice in that it is something different in
Different,
this
yeah,
catalogue.
yeah.
He had a long working relationship with Paul Samuel Smith, ex of the Yardbirds, as his producer for the most part. But the album before this was one that he self-produced, and you know it did pretty well, but it wasn't very well received after the first few albums of the '70s. So he returned to Paul Samuel Smith for this one, and then in later life he kind of saw this as his first kind of retread album of just going back over, for the most part, stuff he'd done before. The song was maybe an exception. Obviously, he's refound his love of music. I saw him last year, a great bill actually. It was Van Morrison, Cat, and Neil Young, which is not necessarily a trio that you would put together as a lineup, but it worked. The usual thing I do at the end of these is to see if we can pick a favorite of the ones that we did hear and nominate a track that we would have liked to hear if we could have had an additional one, whether that's one of the ones that you skipped over because you knew them so well, or just another one that you might have been curious about.
Overall, my
Careful.
favorite would probably be 99, but I would really encourage anyone, especially if you're a Journey fan, if you've never heard it, check out I've Got a Lot to Learn About Love by the Storm. And I mean, you've like we said, you've got Greg Raleigh, Steve Smith, Ross Valerie, and Kevin Chalfant, who does a convincing Steve Perry, and I think was in the running uh,
So I
to
believe, yeah.
replace Steve Perry. Yeah, and Josh Ramos, the guitar player, does a pretty fair Neil Sean, very, very good guitar player. And I know that on that first album, they supported Bryan Adams in concert on the Waking Up the Neighbors tour, which is one of those great examples of how things can turn around because in 1983, Bryan Adams was opening for Journey. So,
Well, yeah.
and Steve Smith played drums on Heaven, which was Brian's first #1 song.
And my favorite Bryan Adams song, which, to be honest, there's not a long list of those, but I do love that one. Um, right, yeah. So for me, out of the ones we heard, well, I was happy to get my Loverboy Cherry Popped with When It's Over. That was a good one, and it was my favorite on the list overall. Oh, what do we skip that we shouldn't have? Yeah, I'm pretty happy with our choices actually, but maybe Dream Police. It would be
Oh
Cheap
yeah,
Trick is
Drake,
again
great,
one of
great
those
song.
bands.
Yeah, great song.
Uh,
Yeah.
I've caught them a couple of times live, and we've mentioned it about a few people, but Robin Zander has still got an amazing voice to this day.
Yeah.
And they're one of those bands who are so few are, but they are still active, putting out new
But a
material.
great new album out
Um,
last year, yeah, all washed up. It doesn't sound like it's a good record, but it is.
so yeah, it was again a fun one. And on the scorecard, we've got 5 definites out of those 10, and you identified a couple of the artists as well. So it was a pretty tough list, and I think you did again a pat on the back for yourself. Good work. I'm sure nobody at home beat you, but if you did, let us know. I mean, you could lie, obviously, but and also let us know which of these songs you would have chosen to showcase. And with all that said, I do have another batch of 10 uh, 26s. So if you're game to come back for another round sometime, then we will set that up.
I'd love to. These are a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, it just leaves me to say thanks as always, to Tim for coming and joining me for this, and thanks to you out there for watching, because it's fun for us to do, and I hope it's fun to watch as well. I don't know if it is. Let me know. If it's not, don't worry about letting me know. Uh, and on that note, I'll just say bye for now, and hopefully it's not for long.
It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for.